Good evening, and welcome everyone to tonight's meeting of the Fort Wayne Community School Board of Trustees. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And roll call of members.
Steve Corona from the 5th District.
Glenna Yale from the 2nd District.
Tom Smith from the 3rd District, and I'm wearing gloves.
And Duff, member at large.
And calling in we have
Maria Norman, member at large.
right. And I'm Julie Hollingsworth, elected from the 1st District, and out here we also have Janet Doherty, the clerk of the board. Good evening, and our superintendent, Dr. Wendy Robinson.
Good evening.
You can't see us all because we are practicing social distancing. So we will get right to it. We have our consent agenda, as we do every meeting, and those include the minutes of the meeting held March 9th. They include vouchers and payroll, vouchers for the period ending March 23rd, payroll for the period ending February 28th, and we have the personnel report, and members have seen all of these items. So do we have a motion and a second?
I'd move approval of the 3 items listed under the consent agenda, Madam Chair.
Second.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Tom. So all those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? What was that, Maria?
I said aye.
Okay, atta girl. Dr. Robinson, was there anything on the personnel report you wanted to highlight?
No.
Really? Because I see a couple of interesting names on
I
here.
bet you do.
Yes, not only, a principal, longtime technology supervisor, and a superintendent.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, your retirement has been approved. You
Hey,
can breathe easier now.
yeah. I can breathe easier when we get to normal again.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so we have no old business, and that brings us to new business. And one thing is that we have made some changes to the 2020 board meeting schedule. It's recommended that the board approve changes to the 2020 board meeting schedule due to some scheduling conflicts, as well as other issues that are going on. We are not going to meet Monday, April 20th. Instead, we will replace that by meeting Monday, April 27th at 6 p.m. And then in May, we traditionally, or for many years now, have had 3 meetings because we have a lot of recognitions and of students and scholarship awards and things like that, and we usually pack the room and pack this building, but in fact so much so that we even have discussed having it elsewhere. But we are not going to do that this year, unfortunately, so we will only be meeting twice. So we want to remove our meeting on Monday, May 4th. Which will leave us with 2 meetings in May, on the 11th and then again on the 18th. So do we have a motion and a second?
I'd move approval of the recommendation to adjust our board meeting schedule.
Second.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Glenna. Any comments? Questions? Okay. So all those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
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 Heard you, Maria. And opposed? Okay, so 1 meeting in April, and that will be April 27th, and then only 2 meetings in May, the 11th and the 18th. Okay, next we have a resolution, and this is a COVID-19 resolution for appropriate action. It's recommended that the School Board of Trustees approve a resolution authorizing the school leadership to timely take all appropriate action to ensure the safety and well-being of our school community for the remainder of the school term. The COVID-19 pandemic created a closure of Fort Wayne Community Schools from March 16th to at least April 13th, although we know that the governor has adjusted that, so no one will be going back to school earlier than May 4th. Due to this closure, the board proposes a resolution for the superintendent and/or her designee be authorized, empowered, and directed to take any and all action as such person deems necessary and that is otherwise permitted by law to ensure the safety and well-being of our school community for the remainder of the current school term without further action by this governing body. This resolution authorizes and is not limited to the payment of employees on non-instructional days. This resolution expires at the time of the first governing body meeting following the end of the school term. So we have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? My question would be, what if our school term has ended?
Well, there's still, mine's still going to school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Virtually.
I just found that wording.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that, our attorney, David, was consulted and had input in writing this, so, I assume that
what's
means
the
at this
intent?
point, in June.
well, as I thought through it, and that last sentence probably needs to be clarified, you're given authority until we're back to normal. By that meaning, the governor said we're not sheltering in place and we're able to start the district back up again. But that school term part is misleading because what the kids do and what we do are two different things.
How about if we change it to until school resumes normal hours or practice or something to that term?
Well,
Because the-
why don't we say that the board, that it will end upon action of the board?
I think that's probably the
All right.
safest.
That would be better than leaving it the way it
Are we
is.
all looking at the language of the recommendation?
Well,
and not the
that's a
related
that's a good point, Steve. Here's the resolution, which is in your packet, and yes, I just read it.
Because there's one difference, and
It has the
Expired
same
it
thing.
says
Time.
current school term. So, do we like that or do we not like that?
In my opinion, and I'm not a lawyer, I think it should just say until board takes action, because none of us at this point know anything that's going to happen. And obviously, I wouldn't take any action without consulting with the board, but the school term, who knows what that means anymore? And it's the same in both the resolution and in this, it didn't say current. So I would recommend that that be, up in the top it says current school, but down in that last line, it said end of the school term.
Okay.
But you're going to be the ones that take the action, you're the
I
ones that
mean,
gets it.
just as I'm writing right
Yeah.
here, I would make a motion that the last sentence reads, "This resolution expires upon action by this governing body."
I'll second that.
So you're going to amend that resolution?
And that would be amending the resolution, changing the last sentence.
All right.
Second that.
Okay, seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thanks, Maria.
Thanks, Maria.
Opposed? Okay, so we have amended the resolution. So can we have a motion to adopt it as amended?
I move that we adopt the resolution as amended.
Second.
Okay, thanks, Glenna. Thanks, Ann. Any questions?
I just, the issue that Congress is struggling with is really the same issue. It's a liquidity issue to make sure that people have money to pay basic and necessary expenses, and this is exactly what we're doing in supporting our employees. So
Right,
it's the
exactly.
right thing to do.
Yep, I agree.
So we are
And this
supporting
doesn't-
our employees. The teachers are going to continue to be paid, and then the hourly people are also going to continue to get paid?
I will put in print to the board what everybody is getting paid. For example, 260 employees, administrators, they have how they get paid. They also have vacation days. The ones we were most concerned about were the school year employees, that if we don't pay them, they don't get paid.
Right.
So it doesn't, what you're giving us permission to do is to, more than anything, focus on those folks. Because the 260s, the administrators, they have vacation days, they have a way that they can continue to get paid. So this is, I'll make it plain for you how everybody's getting paid, but this is really those school year employees that wouldn't get paid if they didn't work.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's the focus.
That's reassuring to hear. that
Yeah, that's
You're going to
excellent.
make those provisions for
Absolutely.
those families who are going to need that assistance.
Right, and I'll talk through the expectation for teachers, but teachers also are salaried employees, and so I'll make that plain to you, but this is strictly focused on giving me the ability to pay those people.
Wonderful.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments? Okay, so all those in favor of approving this resolution as amended signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Great. So that really ends the business of our meeting, but I think, Dr. Robinson, you wanted to talk a little bit about plans that the district has for upcoming learning for learning opportunities for students.
Just about everything I want to talk about.
Okay.
First of all, we are bound by whatever dictates the governor has. We also have been working closely with the Board of Health. And on a daily basis almost are receiving guidelines from the federal government, some more helpful than others. But those are all the agencies as well as the board that I work for. We have to look at all those different agencies as we operate. Before I start, I want to kind of talk through that concept of school year and year-round. Before all this began, our school year basically was slated to end May 28th. And so year-round employees and salaried employees, there's a structure for how they get paid all year. And there are expectations for them working all year unless they take vacation time. So what we decided as a district when we were told, when we knew this was coming, we have been working from home remotely. All of my cabinet, for example, tomorrow we're going to be in a virtual meeting because business still has to go on. We have some essential personnel that will be working, but most of those folks are tied to technology support. Because the last thing you want to have is you're trying to tell parents and students and staff they can use technology and it doesn't work. We don't have the schools staffed in that what we're doing with Sodexo is a thorough cleaning of every building, and it doesn't make sense to have people tramping in and out of buildings if you're trying to disinfect. So what we've done is all of the secretaries of the chiefs, and Janet being my secretary is one of them, we forwarded phone calls. So any that would have come to me go through Janet, any that would have gone to any of the other chiefs. We're finding right now that we're going to have to bolster up Get's office because people are just calling almost even when there are issues not necessarily related to this. But everybody's nervous right now, and they call the schools. So just know that all of the calls that come into the district are being forwarded so that people get answers. I think the biggest resource that we have that we're keeping up to date is as people go to our website, fortwayneschools.org, there is a COVID-19 page, and there's a parent resource, and then there's a staff resource. And what we're trying to do is every single day, and Krista, I need to give her kudos, Krista and Mary Hess, just keep that information updated as soon as it changes. So we're trying to steer people to the website because there are some answers you can get without necessarily having to call someone, and it'll have the latest information. The other thing that I think we need to kind of talk about is every Tuesday, Cabinet and I will have our virtual cabinet meeting. But every day that I had normal meetings with my cabinet people, I'm having virtual conversations because things still happen. Everybody's not closed down. Reports are still due. The federal government still asks us questions. So for all intents and purposes, the district is still running. One of the things that we will be doing with building level administrators and department heads, we call them unit heads because they're responsible for a unit within the district. Every Friday morning, we have a virtual conversation with them. So part of this is you can send things out, but the intent of the virtual meetings is for people to ask questions or to tell us things that people are asking them so that we can get information on the website. So despite the fact that the district is closed, we are still, for all intents and purposes, acting as if we're trying to carry on as much as we can. So just wanted to start with that. I think one more thing just to add is that the IDOE also has a webinar every Tuesday. So I think the governor has one whenever he wants. The IDOE has one every Tuesday. Mary Hess is in contact with the health department on a daily basis. So we're pretty much connected to all the people who give us information. So let me talk about the things I think that parents are concerned about. It's a curse and a blessing that the governor came out and announced till May 1 we'd be closed. Because I think people who, we were starting to get a lot of calls for people who were just flat out nervous about being out in public. And we have that from employees also. So I think people kind of know when the governor intends to have schools shut down. But then the other part becomes what happens to grades, what happens, we're getting an awful lot of call from seniors. I spoke to a parent on Friday whose daughter was just absolutely frightened that she won't graduate. And so what we've tried to do is to prioritize and break down what it is we're going to do. And basically, we've got 4 groups of what we continue focus on education that we intend to do. The first is, and this is something that will be, first of all, on our website, but they're also the LMS, which is our internal curriculum website that every teacher has a page to. Okay, so all of our teachers will be connected to this LMS, and Jennifer Mabel and her staff will have every single week for every single grade level suggestions of work that parents can do with their students, pre-K through 11. Now, when we say that, all of the students don't have their textbook at home or those kinds of things, but what we're trying to focus on are what would the topics we would be covering grade by grade at that point. So it's an effort to make sure that we're keeping up what would have been happening every week. And it's specifically tailored to every grade level, doing the kind of activities that people could do at home, but also the IDOE plus the curriculum department have a wealth of other resources that will be connected to that. So every teacher also will be connected to what Jennifer's work is and what they put on the LMS and what they put on the website. But very specifically, every teacher has their own website. And it's also tied into the LMS. So tomorrow, we've been working with FWA. Teachers will be given instructions on what they need to be doing through their own web page to connect with their students. We even have a way for high school teachers, they could have as many as 180 kids. They can have one website where they tie all of their classes to that one website and connect with their students simply all at the same time. So obviously, we're not expecting every teacher to give assignments where they're grading, but what we're trying to keep is the focus on what would you be doing, what kinds of activities can you do at home, what kind of things can we share online. We're still trying to figure out what other kinds of supports we can provide, but we do have plans for now through May 28. So we planned out what would happen for the rest of the school year for grades pre-K through 11. Okay, so that's that first one that everybody's connected to, and all teachers have an LMS page where their expectation is they're connecting with their kids. If kids don't have internet, we're expecting them to call them. Now, we're not expecting people to make home visits, but we are expecting for people to check in on kids to see if there are questions that students may have, but that's just generic touching every student. Now, we have 3 other very specific groups of students that we've targeted, and some will have pretty much direct support and instruction from teachers. The first is, we don't know what's going to happen with graduation, and there's all kinds of conversations from the governor. But if kids don't if they don't get their credits, they won't graduate. So we're not taking a chance that those kids who are in danger of failing don't get an opportunity to complete or get at least a passing grade in a course. And so we're using Edgenuity. The schools have a list of all the students who were in danger of failing when school ended last Friday. Those students have been contacted. We figured out which kids had computers at home, which kids didn't. We have issued and supported those students that didn't have technology at home to make absolutely certain that any senior who at the time we left last Friday had a failing grade had an opportunity through Edgenuity to get a passing grade so that they can graduate. So that's just seniors. Then we have a larger group, which is dual credit, advanced placement, and a group of students at the Anthers Career Center and also at schools that they are going to get a certificate as a result of completing a class. Now, we're starting to get notices, for example, they're not doing the AP exams, not the AP. I think it's IB, but don't quote me on that. We're getting specifics from IB and AP as to who's going to take tests and who aren't. But what we're trying to make sure happens is that all the kids who are in the middle of all of those kind of the dual credits from college, those kids have to complete certain tasks or they won't get credit and they will have wasted a year.
Just because I saw it online, I do think if you're taking an advanced placement course, you can go online to the College Board site and they'll give you some guidance about, in fact, I think they may even be giving the tests online.
They are.
Students can take it from home, but
They are.
but anyways, any students or teachers can go online and get that information right from the College Board.
What we're going to do is tomorrow when we meet, we're going to get that information, send it out to make sure no one misses it, because that's the issue right now. Everybody's not aware of where to go, and so we're making sure that those kids who are in the dual credit, AP, IB, all of those, we're getting different messages, and those organizations are telling us what they intend for us to do with students. But all of those kids will have direct connection with a teacher online because they have to create task to get certification. So that's just not like Edgenuity doesn't do that, okay? So that's that group of dual credit, advanced placement, CTE. For example, the construction trades, those students won't be on Edgenuity. It's the Chris Roberts kind of classes. But they're gonna come through our Power School, which is once again on our website, because they have tasks they have to complete or they won't get certification. So each of those teachers over the Anthers Career Center, where those students have to get task completed to get their certification, those teachers have already started working on that. So there's quite a large group of students there. And some of those students will also be juniors, because if there were kids in dual credit or in AP courses that needed to complete. So that one does cover juniors and seniors. And then the last group, we've got students who are, as a result of the state pathways, they are in a course, an example would be business law. Okay, it was a course created to fill a pathway. And so we have students that if they don't pass a pathway course, they can't graduate. So what we've done is we've looked at all of the different transcripts of the students, and some of these are students that didn't pass the state test, or there were other reasons they weren't going to pass. That pathway course is going to let them graduate. So we're working with individual teachers and individual students, because it might not be more than 1 or 2 students, but if they don't get this course, they won't graduate. So our first priority is trying to figure out which kids need to graduate. Our second are all those kids with all of those certifications or dual credit types of things that they will lose their certification if we don't let them finish. The other, which is just as important, are the kids who are trying to graduate and need credit recovery. And then the biggest group, which is trying to touch all of our students, which will involve all of our teachers, is how do we stay in contact? How do we give parents and students things to do? How do we have teachers connect with students? Because we realize that it's more than just whether we have them reading and writing. For some kids and some parents, the schools are their lifeline. And so we're trying to figure out a way that every teacher has a responsibility for the kids they're teaching. And if we all kind of break up the district and have a way that people can connect, hopefully we're going to make it through this. But I think the main thing, also the last thing, is we're going to continue to feed kids as long as we can. We have had phenomenal support from volunteers, and Faye is working on a way to even let volunteers sign up. We're also thinking of ways that as we continue to feed kids, if there's a way to distribute materials, we intend to try to do that. So our intent is, for as long as this is going on, we'll try to keep that focus on academics. If there are things we can pass out during the time that we're feeding kids, we intend to do that. But I think we pretty much have an assignment for everybody, and wanted to just kind of cover what we've been doing the last couple of weeks to get most of this in place.
Do you have
So
an
questions?
update on the feeding, by the way? I think the last I heard, was it Tuesday last week? We fed or handed out like 4,200.
It fluctuates. One of the things that it's interesting, we're going to keep an eye on that because some sites feed more kids than others.
Right, right.
And like if Weiser and Young, you might be able to combine some sites. But it's running about close to 4,000, a little bit over 4,000. And it just depends. The hours we have it open, they dribble in. So we're not really having a lot of trouble with like crowds all of a sudden. But we are having people come to be fed.
Okay, any
Are
questions?
Are any of the communities partnering with us in helping to distribute the food or donating food or anything like that? I mean, like the Parks Department, sometimes we work with them over the summer. Are any of our community partners helping us with this task of trying to get food out to 4,200 people?
A lot of the focus of the volunteers and our community partners are what happens at dinner. We're having people try to figure that out. The federal government's relaxed a lot of the guidelines around feeding students, so we're not having any trouble feeding as many as come. Lunch and breakfast. But I think our partners are worried about what happens at night if there's not food at the home. And we've had some churches and some other people start looking at dinners.
Great. That's exciting.
So we have enough money in the budget to do these things, correct?
We were going to pay our classified folks anyway. We have budgeted for like I told you, the school year, folks in the 260s. one of the things that, yes, the short answer is yes,
Good, just wanted to hear that.
yeah.
Thank you.
But I got notes from principals. I think the board should be commended for agreeing to do that. The emotion that people showed when they were told that this board intended to continue to support them. For a lot of folks who work 2 and 3 jobs in our district, they lost the other 2 or 3. And so a lot of the classified people are our parents. So indirectly, it was the right thing to do, but I appreciate the board.
Easy
stepping in.
decision.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
very easy.
yeah. But people are grateful. You need to know that.
Good.
Now, what I'll do is, there are 2 things that you'll continue to get from me. Before we hand out minutes of those Zoom meetings, I'll email those to you. But also any of the information that we get from the State Board of Ed, I'll email that also. So just know on Tuesdays, we have meetings, and on Fridays, we have meetings, and obviously in between. This is happening so quickly every day. There's something new that we're being asked to do or stop doing. So thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, board member comments?
Just 2 quick comments. Among the 4,000 people that are picking up lunches are my neighbors across the street, Amy and Will. And even though we are a block from Harrison Hill, they want to go to their school where their children attend because they want to say hi. They take their kids and
Nice.
want to say hi to their folks at their school. Secondly, I just got to tell you, before we were dismissed for this period, I had a chance to read a couple of books at Franke Park, including Green Eggs and Ham, which I haven't read in years. And at 71 years old, I finally understand the meaning of green eggs and ham. At the end of the book, people finally realize that they taste it
I like it.
and like it. And so that's what life is all about, is, don't be so quick to say no to something you think you don't like. And so I was also asking the kids to tell me what some of the words, how you said some of the words in Spanish. And so the Latino kids in this kindergarten class lit up because I wanted to know how you said green eggs in Spanish. And of course they knew right away. Huevos verde. And so they felt so smart that day that we talked about green eggs and ham and used words in Spanish too. I had a blast reading it. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. I'm anxious for us to get back in class, but I know that this is a time that we have to shelter in place.
But Steve, even something as simple as teachers reading a story over the LMS, those are the kind of things, and I'll send you the letter that I sent to teachers.
Right.
Just the connection, because we don't know how many kids, like I said, we're it for a lot of kids. And missing that connection, we want them also to know that when this is all over, we want them to come back. So something as simple as reading a story is one of the things we're telling teachers to do.
I just want to thank the teachers that have been proactive in reaching out to their classes and making that connection with their students, because I know it's been, when your life has been affected, like our lives have been affected, it's important to have that continuity. And so I just want to thank those teachers who made it a point to reach out to their students and to encourage them, even though they aren't physically in their classrooms together. And I just want to also thank the people who are, again, anxious because of all the adaptations that we're all required to make with these, just to contend with the situations we find ourselves in. It's kind of surreal. But just for your patience, because again, there's a lot of moving parts, and after Dr. Robinson's report tonight about all the different things they are addressing, you can see that they have been busy and they haven't forgotten our children, and they are going to be proactive and setting up a way for people to continue with their education, and more importantly, to make sure those students who are going to graduate will be able to do that in a timely fashion. So I just commend Dr. Robinson for her diligence and even the creativity that, adapting, what a way to go out, to have to handle a major crisis like this is no easy thing. And so thank you again for your patience, your understanding, and we haven't forgotten your children, and hang in there, and it won't be long before life will return to normal and we'll be able to resume school and other activities in life as we had in the past, probably with some changes though.
I just want to second everything that Glenna just said, and just to thank all the leadership in the district and the teachers for making all this great effort to keep kids connected. That's just great, and I know it's only going to get better and better as we learn how to do it more effectively.
Maria? You still there?
We lost
Yes,
Maria.
sorry, I was on.
Did you want to say anything?
Yes, I would. I just want to say thank you so much to Christian service staff for providing meals each day for the students in the city. I know that they have a lot, and I also like to extend appreciation to the DEPSO staff for getting all the buildings cleaned up and sanitary, so that way when we do go back, everyone's safe. And thank you to all of the teachers for being flexible and for reaching out. Teacher has reached out, and we just love having that connection. We miss them, and hope we look forward to all of the connections that are going to be up in the next week. So thank you, everyone.
Okay, thanks, Maria. Ann?
I just want to say that I hope everybody does follow the guidelines set by the governor, are hunkering down. I do have a teenager at home, and I know it's not easy. I think I finally have him convinced that he does need to stay home, and use this time as family time. You know what? I feel fortunate that I get to spend all this time with my kids. We're going to force them to play board games and do jigsaw puzzles and things like that. Yesterday, my 19-year-old and I were doing Just Dance. So, and we found out that you don't have to pay for it on Xbox. YouTube has a zillion Just Dances, and she preferred that because I was beating her on the real Xbox. So, we found something to do. It's time to spend together. So just use this as family time. Just take everything in stride. Hopefully, if we do our hunkering down, hopefully we will see that curve flatten, which is what we definitely want to do. But everybody must do their part in making that happen, and that means staying at home. My life hasn't really changed much, but my kids has. So essential work and only essential travel, so please do your part.
Okay, thanks, Ann. Dr. Robinson, was there anything else you wanted to?
No, I just want to thank the people in the district who've taken this, they put aside their personal fears. And last week and this week, just lots of conversation. We played the what if game. And what it shows is how dedicated the people in this district are, because we've tried to solve problems that they don't really have a solution. But our view is we are the strongest community partner most families have, and we don't even know all the questions we're going to need to answer. So I just want the board's patience too, because every week there may be something different that we may have to call you and try to resolve. But just know that they're good people who are trying to take care of their families at the same time they're trying to take care of the district. So I just wanted to thank everybody for that.
Exactly. And I want to echo everyone else's comments. Not only thank you, Dr. Robinson, and your staff, but, all of our teachers. I've seen, I watched the video of custodians who are cleaning our buildings right now, though whenever students come back, those buildings are going to be spotless. Our food service personnel have been working. I know there have also been volunteers that have been helping hand out meals. I think I saw something too where there were staff packing, the blessings in a backpack so that students would be able to, and I don't know if that's handed out on Fridays or something. I don't know how that's dealt with, but that's
trying to-
food for kind of for the weekend.
Right, but
for
we're also
summer
trying to
students.
get supplies, because as we continue with some of the focus on education, kids aren't going to have some of the supplies they need. So we don't have all that worked out yet.
Right.
But we've got people in the community trying to help us figure that out.
Right.
So,
We've got technology people that are still working, obviously, teachers, administrators are still working, communications is still working. It is, if there's a silver lining, it's a joy to watch everyone, the teamwork, the passion for the work, the care for our students that I think has been shown by all of our staff, top on down. And I would also like to thank Governor Holcomb. He came out last week and said that when and if we did return to school, I think it was when he announced the May 1st, that school would be out until May 1st, that he said that when students did return to school, they would not be spending their time test prepping. They would be spending their time learning. And before there was any waiver from the federal government, Governor Holcomb stepped up and, made that announcement. And I was happy to see him do that. Anything else for the good of the cause? Hopefully we meet again April 27th.
Move for adjournment so we can hunker down.
That's right, hunker down here in Indiana.
I'll second that.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Thanks, Tom. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, unanimous. 6-0.
Jan, do we have things to sign?